Hey, good morning and welcome to the Greg Belfrage Show. It's great to have you along. Sorry we didn't carry the 6 a.m. hour yesterday. It's a long story. It was just an ugly, ugly day. Let's just leave it at that. So we're getting underway this morning, and I want to thank you for being here. Much appreciated.
I've been listening to you for years, Greg. Thanks for all you do and keeping us informed.
You sound a little taller on radio. Dispensing a daily dose of common sense. No prescription required.
Americans love a winner and will not tolerate a loser. Americans play to win all the time.
I don't believe in the no-win scenario.
This is the
Good morning, my friend. The marketplace of ideas is open. Welcome to the Greg Belfrage Show. On time today. Sorry about yesterday. It was just a rough day all the way around. So the big stories this morning. We had a federal judge in Florida yesterday ordering that Ryan Routh be held without bail pending trial. Prosecutors had asked for that. And prosecutors in a court filing said that Routh had stalked Donald Trump for a month in Florida before his arrest on September 15th. Prosecutors said that they plan to ask a grand jury to indict Routh on criminal charges related to the attempted assassination of Donald Trump. But for now, he's only facing 2 weapon-related charges. Many people are wondering about that. Also, a prosecutor during the hearing yesterday said that Routh really had no established ties to Florida. That they said his one and only reason for being there, and that was to kill former President Trump. So no ties to Florida at all. He was only there to kill Trump. That's the only reason. That's what prosecutors are saying. And the I'll get you more on Donald Trump's reaction to this as well, because he thinks it's a slap on the wrist. But I will share more of those comments with you coming up. So we've got the most recent assassin here who tried to kill Donald Trump, who was denied bail. And now we are learning, we're seeing a letter that he had written. He said, "Dear world, this was an assassination attempt on Donald Trump, but I am so sorry I failed you." Now, keep in mind, this was a letter that he wrote several months prior to the actual events that have him in jail right now. So what was he saying? Had he tried previously and failed? What is it that he was referring to? We really don't know. And I don't know that you could figure it out. I mean, if anybody could delve into the mind of this guy and understand where he's coming from. So he said, Dear world, this was an assassination attempt on Donald Trump, but I am so sorry I failed you. I tried my best and I gave it all the gumption I could muster. His letter then also offered $150,000 to anyone who would complete the job on Trump. There are a lot of questions being asked as to why that's being released, why that information is being released. More on that in a moment. So investigators say they also found a book that Routh had written, and I've told you about this before. He had written a book on Ukraine titled Ukraine's Unwinnable War, The Fatal Flaw of Democracy, World Abandonment, and the Global Citizen, Taiwan, Afghanistan, North Korea, World War III, and the End of Humanity. I'm withholding a lot of my own personal reaction to this guy because I just think he's an absolute just raging nut. So the book then also discussed the assassination of Trump, and he was encouraging Iran to carry it out. He said, Ralph says that he must take part of the blame for the person, now he's talking about Trump, for the person that we elected for our next president that ended up being brainless. But I am man enough to say that I misjudged and made a terrible mistake. And Iran, I apologize. You are free to assassinate Trump as well as me for that error in judgment and the dismantling of the deal. He's talking about the Iran deal that Donald Trump had dismantled. So Ralph now again, he's not been charged with with any assassination attempt on Trump. He has been charged with possessing a gun with a scratched out number and then possessing a gun illegally as a felon. So DOJ releasing that again the letter now we're seeing. Ralph had written, it's up to you now to finish the job, and I will offer $150,000 to whomever can complete the job. Everyone across the globe, from the younger to the oldest, know that Trump is unfit to be anything, much less a U.S. president. U.S. presidents must, at bare minimum, embody the moral fabric that is America and be kind, caring, and selfless, and always stand for humanity. Does that include killing people then with whom you disagree? Does that include, picking up a rifle and waiting in the bushes and at a golf course to assassinate somebody? Seriously? I mean, you just look at everything that this guy has written and said. I mean, this is like raving lunacy. No other way to put it. So Donald Trump Jr. reacting to this on social media, and he asked, why is Kamala's DOJ publicizing that Ryan Wesley Ralph put a bounty on my dad's head? It's a great question. Why are they publicizing it? And there's a great piece at PJ Media this morning, and they're saying, certainly curious why the Biden-Harris administration released this letter publicly when more often than not, the manifestos of killers are kept under wraps as much as possible. For example, the manifesto of the Covenant school shooter has yet to be fully released, despite the fact that there's significant public interest in the transgender shooter's motives. So why hasn't it been released? So Florida Governor Ron DeSantis was on Laura Ingram's program talking about the prosecution of Ralph. And he said he was asked if federal authorities were assisting Florida's efforts. And DeSantis says the answer is no, they're not being cooperative. Yes, I am concerned. I mean, for example, we were rebuffed. Our investigators were rebuffed just going to the fence line outside of Trump International Golf Club in West Palm Beach, he said. I think the position, he's talking about the position the federal government has taken, is that they don't want the state of Florida to be involved in this. But here's the thing. There were multiple violations of Florida law across multiple jurisdictions. I think that they've just taken that position. Even though I've been very clear, the state of Florida is going to do an investigation. I've not disputed their right to also investigate. It's the federal government. Trump was in their protective custody as a presidential candidate. So he's telling Laura Ingraham that they're going to proceed. with some investigation then into what happened. So Donald Trump's reaction to this, the release of this information yesterday, it's a big story. So Donald Trump on Truth Social said the Kamala Harris, Joe Biden Department of Justice and FBI are mishandling and downplaying the second assassination attempt on my life since July. The charges brought against the maniac assassin are a slap on the wrist. It's no wonder, since the DOJ and FBI have been coming after me nonstop with weaponized lawfare since I announced my first historic campaign for the presidency, he said. And again, he reacted to the gun charges then that Ralph is facing and so on. And he detailed this at length. And Trump then said it's very difficult to trust the Biden-Harris DOJ FBI to investigate the assassination attempts due to election interference and the fake cases brought against me. He said, shockingly, after the bullet went through my ear on that fateful day in Butler, the FBI director went before Congress and falsely said it may not have been a bullet. It was just glass or shrapnel. He said, a lie condemned by even my worst enemies. What he said was disgraceful, especially since it was witnessed live by millions of people. He was forced to immediately retract. He's talking there about Christopher Wray, the director of the FBI, and the comments that Wray had made about it being glass or something. That was just, again. And Trump says, if the DOJ and the FBI cannot do their job honestly and without bias, and hold the aspiring assassin responsible to the full extent of the law, Governor Ron DeSantis and the state of Florida have already agreed to take the lead on the investigation and prosecution. Florida charges would be much more serious than the ones the FBI has announced. The truth would be followed wherever it leads. Our justice system is corrupt and discredited, especially as it pertains, Trump says to him, let Florida handle the case. So pretty clear how Donald Trump feels about that. DOJ should not be doing it. It ought to be Florida, ought to take the lead. And again, Florida Governor Ron DeSantis is saying that the federal government is not and who's surprised by this? Federal government's not cooperating with them any more than they're cooperating with Texas on controlling the border. I mean, just take your pick. It's absolutely incredible. Other big stories this morning. Kamala Harris may be taking a trip to the U.S.-Mexico border in Arizona this Friday. CNN says, so she's weighing this trip to the U.S. southern border amid polling concerns. And there are a lot of polling concerns that are out there. So now she's apparently considering a trip to Arizona coming up this Friday, but we haven't heard about it in more detail yet. And CNN says some Harris campaign officials remain concerned about the gap in polling, which shows Trump holding a lead on the issue, but they also see an opportunity to narrow what gap they believe is closing and try to shut down GOP attacks over her not visiting the border enough. Really, that's the complaint, that she's not visiting the border enough? Who says that? There are a lot of concerns, and the fact as to whether or not she visits the border, it's really not the issue. When When is this administration going to start enforcing the border? When are we going to see that happen? I mean, a visit to the border is just absolute nonsense. So she's weighing whether or not she's going to go, and what, you and I are supposed to just sit on pins and needles and wait for, I mean, just absolutely absurd. Every day is more bizarre than the day before. Also, Kamala Harris has declined an invitation to go to the annual Al Smith charity dinner event in New York. Donald Trump, however, has accepted his invitation. And Trump said it would be an honor to attend the sold-out 79th annual Al Smith dinner, October 17th in New York. Said it will be great to see so many wonderful people there, including Cardinal Timothy M. Dolan. We know the spirit of Al Smith, the first Catholic nominee of a major party, and John F. Kennedy, the first Catholic president, will be in the room with us that night. And then he said, it's sad but not surprising that Kamala has decided not to attend. I don't know what she has against our Catholic friends, but it must be a lot, because she certainly hasn't been very nice to them. In fact, Catholics are literally being persecuted by this administration, Trump said. And then he went on to talk about the event. So Kamala Harris will not be there. Donald Trump will be. Other stories, and we're going to talk about this in more detail also coming up this morning. The parents of high school athletes in New Hampshire had been banned from attending their daughter's soccer games because they were wearing pink armbands with XX written on them. XX, in other words, female girl chromosomes, XX versus XY chromosomes that men and boys have. They were wearing those pink armbands with XX written on them, protesting the inclusion of biological males on female sports teams. This is in New Hampshire. And several parents showed up to a soccer game Tuesday night between Bow High School and Plymouth Regional High School wearing the armbands. Several parents had raised the issue to the school's athletic director about their students competing against a team with a biological male on the roster. The parents had been told there was nothing they could do after a federal judge in New Hampshire had blocked the state from enforcing its ban on biological males in female sports. The court's in the way of this issue, and it's just, we'll talk about that in more detail. So one parent said, my daughter's playing in the homecoming game this weekend. I'm banned until the 23rd. I can't watch her play in homecoming, which is ridiculous because of the armband. Also, and we'll talk about that. We'll get your thoughts on it coming up later this morning. And California now has become the latest state to restrict smartphone use by students at school. So school districts in California are going to have to create rules restricting students' smartphone use under a new law that was signed by Democratic Governor Gavin Newsom yesterday. California now becoming the latest state. A number of others have also followed suit along these lines when it comes to the use of smartphones at school. And they want to minimize distractions then in the classroom. The distraction, they're also concerned about the effect of social media also on students, so on. And there have been a growing number of states that have been, and school districts, we've seen it even here in very conservative South Dakota, where some school districts are saying no longer saying no to smartphones in schools. And with the growing number of districts, now you've got the state of California signing this into law. And that's a look at the big stories this morning. Thanks for starting your day with the Greg Belfrage Show. I really do appreciate it. Currently partly cloudy and 55 at Kello. And this hour of our show brought to you by the Window Shop of Mitchell, offering custom windows starting at $99 a month.
Camp and Robbins, weekdays at 2. Kello.
Oh, yeah, much better day today than yesterday.
See the in-store details about how to get rebates from major tire manufacturers. 2 Sioux Falls locations to serve you.
A spectacular showpiece, a fantastic symphony. Experience the mesmerizing vision of Hector Berlioz. The South Dakota Symphony and Dr. David Geyer perform the Symphony Fantastique, Hector Berlioz's vivid masterpiece. And Rachel Barton Pine performs violin showpieces, The Carmen Fantasy, and music by Wynton Marsalis. Sponsored by First Premier Bank and Premier Bank Company. Tickets start at $19. Call 605-731-2440 or visit sdsymphony.org. Saturday, October 5th at the Washington Pavilion, the Symphony Fantastique, as the South Dakota Symphony's new season begins. Diabetes, high blood pressure, anxiety meds, everyone's on them. If you're a 50-year-old male, maybe a bit porky, and you may even have type 2 diabetes, $1 million of term insurance may only cost you about $200 a month. Call Term Provider. Speak with Big Lou at 800-345-2789. Big Lou will find a term life policy for you even if you have type 2 diabetes, or overweight, or have high blood pressure. Term Provider has helped thousands of people like you who think they can't afford term life insurance. To buy $1 million of affordable term life for you, all you need to do is call Big Lou at 800-345-2789. Lou will make sure the scales are tipped in your favor. Call 800-345-2789. Big Lou will answer your call and work to fit you into a term life policy that you can afford. Remember, Big Lou's like you. He's on meds too. Call 800-345-2789. 800-345-2789 or biglou.com.
Guys, will become mostly sunny to partly cloudy for today. We'll have a high temperature of 73. Northwest winds 5 to 10 miles per hour, increasing to 10 to 20 for the afternoon. Partly cloudy skies tonight, 48.
And in Sioux Falls at 629, partly cloudy, 55 currently at Kello. Joe Bowman is in the Kello.com news center. 18-year-old is facing charges for allegedly carrying a gun onto a high school campus over the weekend. Also, Senator John Thune appeared on Fox News to discuss how farmers in South Dakota and the country are hurting under the Biden-Harris administration. So we'll have details on those stories and more coming up for you here in just a few moments from the Kello.com newsroom. Hey, for those of you who follow me on Facebook, we're giving away some free weekend passes to SuperCon, which is coming up this weekend. So we've got certificates for, again, free admission to SuperCon if you would like to go this weekend. So here's what you need to do. We've got a number of them. Just go to my Facebook page. Go to the Greg Belfrage Show Facebook page. And right at the top of the page, I pinned a just reply to the post and you're entered.
President Biden's in New York this morning to address the United Nations General Assembly about conflicts like Israel trading fire with Hezbollah in Lebanon.
Israeli Defense Minister Yoav Gallant said Israel destroyed the infrastructure that Hezbollah spent 20 years building. The human cost was severe. Israel did put out messages telling citizens to get out of harm's way, but many could not. At least 492 people were killed, including 35 children and 58 women.
Fox's Nate Boy. A storm expected to become a tropical storm, and then Hurricane Helene's on track to make U.S. landfall this Thursday.
We are watching a tropical system that is expected to explode into a major hurricane over the next few days in the Gulf of Mexico, taking aim right now at the Big Bend of Florida.
Fox meteorologist Janice Dean. Hurricane John, meantime, hitting Mexico's southern Pacific coast. America's listening to Fox News.
Kello News Time 6:31. I'm Joe Bowman in the Kello.com News Center. An 18-year-old is facing charges for allegedly carrying a gun onto a high school campus over the weekend. Philip Linderman is accused of bringing the gun onto the Lincoln High School campus Saturday during a pancake fundraiser. Police say Linderman had the gun concealed in his waistband while he was on the campus. He didn't threaten anybody with the gun. He ate some pancakes and then he left. Linderman is not a student in the Sioux Falls School District. He's being charged with a misdemeanor. Senator John Thune appeared on Fox News to discuss how farmers in South Dakota and the nation are faring under the Biden-Harris administration.
What they've seen with inflation is a huge rise in input costs, declining commodity prices, and a record trade deficit. We never had trade deficits in agriculture. We always had trade surpluses.
Thune says this is the first year there's been a trade deficit in agriculture, estimated at over $30 billion. Sioux Falls police say they have exhausted all their leads in the case of missing Tyler Weathersby, and they're asking for the public's help. Weathersby has been missing now for more than 2 weeks after leaving his home to go for a walk. Police Chief John Toome says detectives continue to work the investigation, and he believes someone has the information needed to break the case. In sports, the Minnesota Vikings will spend the week preparing for their first border battle of this season. The Vikings take on the Packers this Sunday. Minnesota enters the contest as the top team in the NFC North at 3-0, but the Packers are only a game behind at 2-1. This Sunday's game kicks off at noon. And the Minnesota Twins continue their playoff push as they take on the Miami Marlins at Target Field tonight. Minnesota is a game behind Detroit and Kansas City for the final AL wildcard spot at 81 and 75. From the Kello.com News Center, I'm Joe Bowman.
The news never stops. Kello News Talk 1320 107.9.
Skies will become mostly sunny to partly cloudy for the afternoon. Well, the high temperature of 73, northwest winds 10 to 20 miles per hour. Mostly clear.
All right.
Light northwest winds. Plenty of sunshine for tomorrow. A little warmer, high of 77. Northwest winds of 5.
Excuse me for just a moment.
Like after HD Storm Center. Meteorologist Scott Marks.
The Sioux Empire's interesting news talk station with the power of information all day, all night. Kello News Talk 1320 107.9.
In a week since the iPhone hit, there's been a lot said about the new iPhone 16, almost all of it positive. But the biggest question facing you is, when is the best time to buy? I'm Kim Commando for T-Mobile. Their advanced network now goes farther than ever before. Visit T-Mobile.com/55 today. First, do you really need the iPhone 16? If you're using an iPhone 14 or 15, there's really nothing earth-shaking about this new phone, at least until all the AI software arrives in the next 6 months. Then it's a different story. But if your iPhone is more than 3 years old, you'll definitely see a big improvement jumping to the 16. Okay, when to buy? The best trade-in deals are happening right now. If you miss this window, wait until the run-up to Black Friday, when the deals again shift into high gear. And remember, the smaller cellular companies cannot offer you the best deals that you'll always find at the big 3 cell providers. But you can enter to win a brand new iPhone 16 right now at winfromkim.com. Hey friends, Kim here. You know, it seems the older you get, the savvier you become at saving money. I really hate to overspend on things, especially the necessities. But thanks to T-Mobile, I don't have to worry about overpaying for wireless service, so I've got more time and money to spend on other things. At T-Mobile, customers 55 and up can get 2 lines of talk, text, and data for just $30 a month per line. That's a 45% savings versus Verizon and AT&T. Plus, Scam Shield Premium is included, which means fewer scam calls and more tools to help you optimize and organize your mobile life. Experience all this and more with T-Mobile, America's largest 5G network. Don't miss out. Get 2 lines of talk, text, and data for $30 a month per line at T-Mobile. Visit T-Mobile.com or your local store to make the switch and save.
With autopay using debit or bank account plus taxes and fees. 25% off 2 lines versus AT&T Starter and Verizon Welcome. Plan benefits vary. See details. Capable device required for Scan Shield. Turn on Scan Block. My Block calls you off.
The Kim Commando Show, live Saturday mornings at 9. Callow News Talk 1320 107.9.
The Kello Hotline is brought to you by Tires, your Give You More tire and automotive store. Financing programs available. 2 Sioux Falls locations to serve you.
Bring charm from the outdoors into your home with Renewal by Andersen Picture and Combination Windows. Optimizing a beautiful view and light in a bedroom, kitchen, or living room from ABC Seamless of Sioux Falls. Call 605-646-2667 today.
That's ABC Seamless.
If you're looking for easy, affordable, local, and trusted healthcare coverage in South Dakota, contact me, Melinda Neuenhouse, with South Dakota Farm Bureau Health Plans at 605-990-3223. Again, 605-990-3223.
This is Congressman Dusty Johnson. This fall, we're voting on Amendment G, which would put abortion in our Constitution. You've heard Amendment G is too extreme for South Dakota, and I agree with that. It fails to protect mothers, and it fails to protect children. It allows the termination of pregnancy all the way until birth. South Dakota, we can do better. Please join me in voting no on Amendment G. This has been paid for by Dusty Pack.
Hey guys, Donald Trump Jr. here with urgent news. The world's central banks are making unprecedented moves, and it's time to pay attention. In 2022 and 2023, they bought more gold than ever before. And now in 2024, the trend is accelerating. Why? Because central banks have lost faith in the dollar. And in these uncertain times, gold is the ultimate safe haven. If you too are worried about the dollar, I urge you to take similar action by diversifying your IRA or 401k into gold with my trusted friends at Birch Gold Group. To see how it works, get your free info kit on gold IRAs by texting the word hedge to 989898. Birch Gold is the only gold company I trust. They provide an easy process to roll over your 401k or IRA into gold without losing your tax advantage status. So text hedge 989898. That's hedge to the number 989898 to get your free info kit on gold IRAs from Birch Gold. That's what you think, right?
Okay, some mornings you might not have that get up and go.
.638, partly cloudy and 55. Good morning, my friend, and welcome to the Greg Belfrage Show. It's really great to have you along. You know, I've been telling you about my friends at 49th Street Liquor, and I want to welcome them. One of our newest advertisers on the Greg Belfrage Show. Well, if you haven't tried 49th Street Liquor yet, this is your chance. Be caller number 7 at 605-336-1320, and you'll win a $10 gift card to 49th Street Liquor at 49th in Minnesota. I guarantee you're going to find stuff there that you will absolutely love. So be caller number 7 right now at 605-336-1320, and you'll win a $10 gift card to 49th Street Liquor at 49th and Minnesota.
What's trending now?
Add them on Facebook.
Let the tweeting begin. The hashtag does that. News and views from Belf's News Gallery.
Top trending story this morning. Federal judge has ordered that Ryan Routh should not be released while he is waiting trial on charges in the assassination attempt against Donald Trump. He's not facing any assassination charges as of yet. It's federal gun charges that he's facing, but prosecutors are saying that more charges will be forthcoming, but the judge ordering that he should not be released on bond. Also, Ryan Routh wrote a note months prior indicating his desire to kill Donald Trump. He dropped off a package or a box that he had dropped off at a friend's house, according to prosecutors. And inside the box, there was a handwritten letter that said, "This was an assassination attempt on Donald Trump, but I failed you. I tried my best and gave it all the gumption I could muster." That's just the dumbest word. All the gumption I could muster. What? It's now up to you to finish the job, and I will offer $150,000 to whomever can complete the job, he said. So the letter is part of evidence being submitted by federal prosecutors in the hearing yesterday. The filing also said the witness who had the box said the box contained ammunition, a metal pipe, miscellaneous building materials, tools, 4 phones, and various letters. So who has, all of these phones? This guy also had multiple license plates that were found, in his vehicle. He had multiple license plates. He had multiple phones. Just absolutely incredible. How could you do that in writing and promising $150,000 then to whomever can complete the job? Where would that money come from? Because the guy is saying he can't even afford an attorney, we're being told. There's just a lot of things about this whole case that just stink up. So Donald Trump will be returning to Butler, Pennsylvania, which was the site of the first assassination attempt against him. And the rally is currently scheduled for October 5th. And it will take place at the Butler Farm Show Fairgrounds, where Thomas Crooks shot at him, grazed his ear. So it will be similar to the rally in July, which, of course, in terms of setup and so on, but Donald Trump wanting to return. Meanwhile, the Democratic National Committee is taunting Donald Trump for not agreeing to a second debate against Vice President Kamala Harris, putting up billboards that call Trump a chicken. Ooh, I don't know that I can take it. That's just, please. There's no debate. Donald Trump's a chicken. Oh, really? Would you be moved that? They're spending money on the billboards, though. Also, a senior data reporter at CNN, Harry Enton, said yesterday that Donald Trump is doing better in swing states in comparison to the election in 2020. Donald Trump leading Vice President Kamala Harris. Now, keep in mind, this is coming from CNN. Trump is leading Kamala Harris by 5 points in Arizona and holding a 4-point lead in Georgia, a 3-point lead in North Carolina, according to a New York Times Siena College poll yesterday. Polls are coming, my friend. Polls are coming out daily. I mention this only because it's trending. There's a lot, but polls are coming out daily, and I see, and more times than not, I will tell you very candidly, I just pass over them. I don't share polls. The polls today are, it's seriously, it's just, it's going to be what it's going to be. It's going to go the way it will go. We'll see what happens. But that story is trending, so I share it with you. Also, the United States sending troops to the Middle East in response to the surge in violence between Israel and Hezbollah. Daily Mail says the region teeters on the edge of an all-out war. The Pentagon announced yesterday that additional service members would be deployed to join the 40,000 that are already stationed in that region, along with a dozen warships and fighter jet squadrons. So Israeli forces then have ramped up their airstrikes inside Lebanon. State Department has warned all Americans to leave due to the risk of the conflict. So tensions, again, this is the Daily Mail reporting. Tensions have reached the boiling point in the last 7 days. Wall Street Journal's got a story about Israel and Hezbollah slide toward full-scale war in a night of intense strikes. So they accelerated their cross-border attacks over the weekend, with their leaders exchanging saber-rattling threats in a rapidly deteriorating situation that has the adversaries as close to full-out war as they have been in their nearly year-long conflict. So dozens of warplanes struck southern Lebanon over the weekend, according to Israel's military. They called it a preemptive attack against rocket launching positions. Israel, of course, is encouraging people to get out. They want to see them safe, and they're saying once these attacks have ended, that people will be able to return to their homes. Also, there are unconfirmed reports that the leader of Hamas, Yahya Sinwar, may be dead. Unconfirmed reports, IDF says that's the Israeli Defense Forces, saying they cannot confirm or deny that they have taken him out. Also, there are stories trending this morning regarding Robert F. Kennedy Jr. And this is, there are a number of stories. I've got one here from the Daily Mail, one from the New York Post. We'll start with the Daily Mail. He's making bombshell claims about Olivia Nuzzi as a friend, and that he apparently, this is according to a friend of RFK Jr., saying that he found Olivia Nuzzi's pornographic photos and videos difficult to resist. So she is a 31-year-old Washington correspondent for New York Magazine. She was placed on leave after she admitted to her bosses that she had an emotional and digital affair with Kennedy. An emotional and digital affair. So in other words, it wasn't actually real in person. It was. And then she later, it was later revealed that she sent a number of nudes. A Substack journalist and a friend of RFK Jr. says this was part of a relentless campaign to woo him. Those sources that are close to her Newsy have claimed she was not the aggressor in this situation. It was RFK Jr. Now RFK Jr. is saying he may sue her over this. This is according to the New York Post. He's investigating a possible lawsuit against Olivia Newsy, who allegedly bombarded him with increasingly pornographic photos and videos while tricking him into unblocking her numbers, according to a mutual friend. So this is, Kennedy has hired a security expert to probe this, and is the security expert saying this has nothing to do with romance. It was being chased by porn. It's a crazy story. Again, Daily More. If you want to read more on that story, and I don't know that you do, but Daily Mail, that story is trending. So you can find various sources at freespoke.com. But Daily Mail's got a story. New York Post has got a story on it this morning. Also, the president of Ukraine, Vladimir Zelensky, has arrived in the United States. He will be presenting his plan to end the war with Russia. He'll be presenting that plan to Joe Biden, Kamala Harris, and Donald Trump. And I think on Thursday, Zelensky is expected to try and convince the president to change his mind as to whether or not it will give Ukraine more authority than to press their war, because Zelensky wants to, excuse me, Zelensky wants to use long-range missiles on targets inside of Russia. And he's trying to get President Biden to change his mind about that, because Biden is not allowing that. So he will be making the case coming up later this week, Thursday. Other stories trending this morning. Reggie Bush is he's looking for compensation for using his name, image, and likeness while playing football for USC. So he's filed a lawsuit against his former school. He's also suing the Pac-12 conference and the NCAA. So in a court filing, Bush says that all three entities earned significant compensation on the back of Reggie Bush's efforts, according to a summary that was posted by CBS Sports. Also, a U.S. boy who was kidnapped from a public park when he was 6 years old has now been reunited with his family after decades. A DNA test unraveled a mystery that had tortured his loved ones for more than 70 years. So he was 6 years old. He was playing with his 10-year-old brother when he was approached by a woman who spoke to him in Spanish. She promised to buy the little boy lollipops if he came along with her. So then his brother Roger followed them for a while. Then he went home to tell an adult. Family immediately called police, and the boy was never found. And so now he is reuniting with his family. So he was kidnapped 73 years ago, was found through DNA evidence, and reunited with his family. That's an incredible story. Also, a Colorado man who gunned down 10 people at a Boulder supermarket in 2021 sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole yesterday. Jury rejected an insanity defense and they convicted him of murder. So a 25-year-old man found guilty on all 55 charges, including 10 counts of first-degree murder. This all happened at a King Soopers back in March of 2021. And so the judge sentenced him to 10 back-to-back sentences of life in prison without the possibility of parole, one for each murder count, as well as other prison terms for other counts. And it's just, and the Boulder County District Attorney said, you know, this was not about mental illness. This was about brutal, intentional violence for which he deserves the maximum. So he was armed with a Ruger. He opened fire on people at the grocery store before he was shot in the leg by police and then wound up being arrested. Now will be in jail for the rest of his life. Also, two record-setting Russian cosmonauts and an American astronaut have come back to Earth from the International Space Station yesterday. And that is being celebrated by many. They spent about 374 days in orbit. And that's a look at the stories trending this morning in Belf's News Gallery. Thanks so much for starting your day with the Greg Belfrage Show. I want to congratulate Kim Johnson of Team. Kim won that gift card to 49th Street Liquor. Hey, Kim, thanks a million for listening. I think you're really going to like the place. 49th Street Liquor at 49th in Minnesota. I have another chance for you to win coming up a little later this morning. This hour of the Greg Belfrage Show brought to you by the Window Shop of Mitchell, offering custom windows starting at $99 a month.
The latest news all day.
I want to thank you very much for letting me join you this morning. Get your day started. I appreciate it. Hope you'll return to YouTube for the fourth hour of the Greg Belfrage Show, 9:30 this morning. So long until then, and hope to see you soon.
German culture with delicious food, live music, and plenty of beer. From traditional Bavarian fare to lively